ESG flight plan. Embraer's journey for a sustainable future begins now. First of all, I would like to give a warm welcome to everyone joining us today. Today we are ESG, three letters that say so much. Environmental, social, and governance, criteria that set a new way of acting in a fast-changing world. But more than words, they represent a commitment we make today for the future ahead. They also sum up so well Embraer's new moment, when actions are being taken towards carbon emission reduction in a more sustainable, diverse, equal, and profitable company. I'm Felipe Calçada, and some of Embraer's main leaders will be joining us today to share with you what is already being done, what is about to come, and how what is presented here can contribute to our planet needs right now. And just as a teaser, among so many interesting and important news, we'll see firsthand the flight of a new technology developed by Embraer, which represents the first step towards the development of zero carbon emission aircraft. So, stay with us. Both panels will be followed by testimonials from partners and institutions that already see the change and understand the importance of Embraer's goals and achievement. And we would love to hear from you. So please, send us your comments, your questions at any time during our transmission using the chat box. And now, to kick off today's program, we begin with a film made especially for this event. And right after the video comes our first speaker, Francisco Gomes Neto, President and CEO of Embraer, to reaffirm the importance of Embraer's commitment with a more sustainable and responsible future.
Dear Embraer, my name is Victor Medeiros, and I'm one of the millions of Latin American students that dream with a promising future. My father lived as a homeless after he moved from Northeast Brazil to Southeast Brazil looking for opportunities. Our family never had the money to support myself for studies, let alone English courses. But my parents and I have never given up. We had a clear vision that nothing could be accomplished without dedication and high quality education. Somehow, our stories are not really different. You came from humble beginnings and you have also defied the odds. Your story taught me that we achieve our personal best, not in spite of the challenges, but because of them. And today, you will conquer the skies abroad. Just like you, I'm thousands of miles away from home. I recently graduated as a chemical engineering major from University of California, San Diego, and my concentration was in biomedical engineering and nanoengineering. And I'm looking forward to do my medical school as a PhD in the future. It's always good to hear people's stories of perseverance, but right now, the world is facing massive challenges of frightening proportions. We're all passengers on this beautiful planet, but if we continue our current route, it won't take us too far. I know that to build a sustainable future has been one of your guiding values. You have always designed the most efficient and environmentally friendly aircraft. There are important advances in new propulsion technologies, and you're moving fast to create new air transport mobility with low emissions. It all makes us proud, but we need more. The planet needs more. We count on you to create new technologies to hit zero emission in the future, to be 100% powered by renewable energy, to make diversity one of your driving forces for technological innovations, to ensure a pleasant journey for everyone, regardless of color, gender. It's a journey that we are all be looking forward to. A different world connected by green energy and by bounds of responsibility, equal opportunities, and respect. It's a huge challenge, no doubt, but you're forged by challenges. And I know you can accelerate many transformations to help the world, the same way you transformed my life and thousands of young people. We look up to you, Embraer.
Thank you all for joining us today. We are excited to announce our ESG goals and outline our plans going forward. This is an essential part of doing business today. Our executive team and all our more than 18,000 employees are committed to driving real change at the company. Climate change is one of the greatest challenges of our time. This week, United Nations published a new and alarming scientific report reinforcing the impact of climate change on the future of our planet and the urgency of governments, companies, and all stakeholders to act now. Air transport is a vital feature of our modern, globalized world, connecting people and businesses across oceans and continents. The benefits of air travel are clear, but this connectivity creates an environmental challenge. At Embraer, we recognize the urgency of the climate change and the role of the industry to tackle the challenge. We all need to make a significant effort to reduce emissions, and the aviation industry must take a leadership role. In that spirit, we are doing our part to act now and commit to moving the aviation sector forward, heading towards a low-carbon economy and a more diverse, inclusive, and ethical society. As part of this commitment to building a sustainable future, Embraer set ambitious new ESG goals. We will further reducing emissions related to our operations and develop more sustainable products with less environmental impact in our value chain. And ESG is at the heart of Embraer's purpose. It is intrinsic part of our values, and that's why we have included ESG as one of the pillars of our strategic plan, aligning business strategy with social responsibility and environmental practices. Acknowledging this is our main challenge for the whole society, we recently joined the Target True Zero initiative launched by the World Economic Forum as part of the commitment to achieve zero-emission aviation goals through new propulsion systems and fuel technologies. It is just an example of a multi-sector initiative, among others, which we expect to make the difference and contribute to a net zero aviation. I'm very pleased to have other representatives from the Embraer leadership team with me to outline more of our commitments and the pathway from now on. Thank you very much, and over to you, Felipe.
Thank you, Francisco. The world is calling us to act right now, to move forward in the right direction. And now to present Embraer's ESG flight plan, we invite to the stage Carlos Griner, Vice President of People, ESG, and Communications of Embraer. Welcome, Griner.
Thank you, Felipe, and I'm pleased to share with you our goals and commitments as part of a transition for a low carbon emission economy and a more ethical and inclusive society. Starting with environment, our aim is to decarbonize our direct and indirect operations by focusing mainly on carbon reduction and efficiency. Our inventory shows that 75% of Embraer's footprint in Scope 1 and 2, which includes our own operations and energy consumption, are associated with the jet fuel and use of energy. That's why we are prioritizing our efforts in these matters. Aligned with Paris Agreement goal to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, we are committing to carbon neutral operations by 2040, 50% reduction in net carbon emissions by 2040 from a 2018 baseline. Begin using sustainable aviation fuel SAF by 2021 and aim for at least 25% by 2040. 100% energy from renewable sources by 2030 and step goal of 50% renewable energy by 2025. Offsetting any residual emission that will not be reduced through efficiency projects available, alternative energy, or advancing technology. Carbon neutral growth from 2022. Commit to capping carbon emissions to 2021 levels while growing operations. Regarding Scope 3, net zero aviation by 2050 will be achieved with our contribution in developing products, services, and new technologies such as electrification, hybrid, and biofuels, including SAF. Working together with suppliers to make our current aircraft compatible with the use of 100% SAF. Actively working with the supply chain to expand the global SAF production scale. Continuously improving the efficiency of our current aircraft until the certification of new technologies. Launch of zero-emission eVTOL aircraft by 2026. Regarding the social pillar, our commitments are concentrated in two areas: education and diversity. Our objectives are foster a workplace that is 100% inclusive and safe for all, increase diversity and representation in hiring, retaining, and promoting talent across all levels of our organization. Keep leveraging education as a competitive advantage, create access in local communities through key social programming and educational initiatives that impact society while attracting local talent. And the targets include 100% of leadership positions continuously trained on diversity and inclusion by 2021 and all employees by 2022. 50% diverse hires in all new entry-level employees programs by 2025. 25% of women in the in-company Master of Science in Aeronautical Engineering program by 2025. 20% of women in senior leadership position by 2025. Bring more than 80% of the students from Embraer high schools to public universities or scholarships. Launch a new program focused on qualifying 1,500 people from underrepresented groups in technology called social tech by 2025. Having a workforce and culture is predicated on good governance. Regarding governance, Embraer is already recognized for practicing the highest global standard of governance, and for this very reason, we know that it is necessary to pursue continuous improvement in this area. We are committing to robust ethics and compliance program fully aligned with global standards, maintain highest international standard of governance and maintain the high safety standard of our products and full alignment with international requirements. We are aware of the challenges and we are committed to advancing the environmental and social agenda, promoting a more ethical and fairer society. These are demands of our stakeholders and core elements of our purpose. Thank you very much.
At Natixis, we're of the view that sustainable finance will fail in its mission if it continues to leave high-emitting sectors on the sidelines. Clearly, aviation is one of those high-emitting, hard-to-abate sectors. As of today, the aviation industry is not on track to meet the goals of the Paris Agreement. The pathway to net zero is unclear, and significant investment in R&D is required. Such a significant transformation will require collaboration from all parts of the value chain: airline operators, original equipment manufacturers such as Embraer, parts manufacturers, sustainable aviation fuel suppliers, researchers, and more, including finance. OEMs such as Embraer have a critical role to play if the aviation industry is going to be able to find a path to material decarbonisation and net zero. Embraer's commitment to change how the industry works through innovative engineering, energy efficiency, and focusing on multiple alternative energy technologies, whether it's energy efficiency, SAF, hybrid, electrification, and green hydrogen, they're the keys to unlocking a pathway to a sustainable future. Embraer's recent announcement is an important step in the right direction, and we look forward to accompanying them on this journey.
In a world more connected than ever, clients can access the history of a company, their production methods, their supply chain, diversity and equality concerns. To meet the expectations of this new world, having a strong and yet sensible governance is essential. To talk about that and on how Embraer's high governance standards are key to support the sustainable growth of the business, we invite to the stage Fabiana Lichziner, Executive Vice President, General Counsel, and Chief Compliance Officer of Embraer. Fabiana, take it away.
Thank you, Felipe. I am excited to be here today to discuss governance and outline our goals. Everything about governance starts with a strong board. Our board is very well engaged and has strong ESG experience to support us in fulfilling our goals and initiatives and guide us through this journey. Embraer is a public company with shares listed in São Paulo on the new market, which has the highest level of corporate governance in Brazil, and in New York on the New York Stock Exchange. We meet the Brazilian highest and US and international governance standards. The board has an ESG committee that works across all of our key stakeholder audiences to develop such strategies, define key performance indicators, and establish targets that are integrated into our corporate sustainability plan. Embraer Ethics and Compliance Program is supervised by the Board of Directors and its Audit, Risk and Ethics Committee, ensuring the department's independence. Reporting directly to the board's Audit, Risks and Ethics Committee, the Chief Compliance Officer, CCO, is responsible for developing policies, procedures, and controls, and guiding the compliance culture at all levels of the organization. Embraer seeks to ensure the highest level of corporate integrity and ethics in its activities. We have the highest ethical standards and zero-tolerance policy for violations. We have established a robust and comprehensive compliance program to design, guide, promote, and support all policies, procedures, and activities necessary to ensure the company meets the highest ethical standards. We also promote a culture of ethics and integrity, based on our core values and our code of ethics and conduct. We support the businesses in risk management, identification of red flags, process improvements, and incident investigation. We also consolidate all of our compliance initiatives, including anti-corruption, export control, and our helpline channel, our whistleblower channel, which is also available 24/7 and guaranteed anonymity in 100% of our reports. We also take a very strong influence of our tune at the top. Compliance is a topic on top of leadership's agenda, as we believe that the example comes from the leadership. The subject is on the monthly agenda of board and management meetings, with studies of cases for training purposes. We also implemented the possibility to reduce leadership's variable compensation in up to 20% if they do not meet targets to promote and deploy compliance within their respective organizations. Regarding flight safety, we have a policy that permeates the entire company and incentivizes a continuous and rigorous commitment on the part of employees and leaders to building ever safer aircraft that exceed national and international certification standards. The company's flight safety policy takes a proactive approach to the entire product life cycle to ensure safety norms are met and exceed the statutory minimum. And as Greener mentioned, our employees, customers, partners, investors, and all of our key stakeholders want to know that they are working with an ethical company. Thank you, and let's see another testimonial from one of our dearest customers.
Well, the ESGs are incredibly important for every industry, but I would say even more so for the aviation industry. It concerns about targets on the field of environment, social and governance. Aviation industry by nature is bringing a lot of economic value and economic prosperity to societies. But we cannot just look at the economic value. We should have a more holistic view and a total view. I think as an aviation industry, you've done already a lot in the field of environment, and we should continue to do so. But by now, fully embracing the ESGs, we're not only focusing on economic value, but also on environmental issues, social and governance issues. Therefore, incredibly important. Well, I do applaud the initiative which Embraer has taken already and basically is reconfirming and stepping up the efforts on this field of ESGs. As I mentioned, the ESGs are incredibly important for the aviation industry as a whole, and therefore Embraer, as such an important and relevant player in the industry, is taking a leading role in that, and that is very important for all of us. KLM is a happy customer of Embraer, and therefore we do applaud the initiatives and the actions taken by Embraer, and we see it basically back in the aircraft we do operate.
We began with the last letter of ESG, G for governance. But everything today is about moving forward, right? After all, what's the point in developing high-end technologies, flying cars, and some of the most advanced aircraft ever seen, if all this knowledge and accomplishment cannot be shared with the society around us? So now we get to the letter S, social. And Embraer has a big legacy when it comes to that. The company has a long history of successful initiatives in the social area, a history that is about to be expanded. Now Carlos Greener is back, and he'll tell us how the company is paving a solid path towards social transformation. Greener?
Thanks again, Felipe. Our social approach is closely linked to the creation of Embraer itself, when the vision was, before manufacturing aircraft, we would need to produce great aeronautical engineers. We maintain the early days spirits and have developed an ecosystem that generates and disseminates knowledge, promotes scientific development, and impact society in a very positive way. One great example of this is the Master Aeronautical Engineering created 20 years ago in partnership with Technological Institute of Aeronautics, the backbone of our talent development in engineering. The program attracts engineers from all over the country in Brazil for more than 100 universities using learning by doing methodology. Altogether, more than 1,600 engineers have graduated, contributing to promote a virtual cycle in the regional economy. Another long-term and successful program is the Embraer Institute, established in 2001, focused on high-quality education for low-income high school students. This initiative already impacted more than 4,000 students. The high schools are focused on equipping students with technical, social, environmental, and entrepreneurship skills. In the US, the Embraer Foundation offers community engagement such as volunteering and grants program, as well as educational projects and opportunities that aim to enhance social and environmental development among underserved students. Another social project focused on professional qualification for low-income young people called Formar e Aprendiz engage Embraer volunteers to make the factory an environment for learning and developing working skills and citizenship. Regarding diversity, Embraer believes in the importance of a diverse and inclusive environment that respects the uniqueness of all people. We encourage the creation of affinity groups to discuss the various themes of diversity in the company, encouraging this organic movement by the employees themselves to create a more inclusive environment. Created organically, the largest affinity group in the company is called Embrace, which the main purpose of this is to discuss and drive actions for our diversity and inclusion. This initiative has helped Embraer welcoming groups focused on women, ethnics, LGBTQIA+, and people with disabilities. Almost 1,000 employees currently participate in Embrace. Therefore, fostering a comprehensive social approach which connects education, diversity, and inclusion, we strive for building a more sustainable, innovative, and inclusive company and society. Thank you very much, and let's watch now the testimonial from another important Embraer partner.
The future of business aviation depends on us being constantly ever more safe, secure, and sustainable. And in all three of those areas, Embraer is an undisputed industry leader. We're looking forward to a future where we can get people where they need to be, when they need to be there, safely, securely, sustainably. And we're grateful that Embraer is helping lead the way.
So now our flight plan gets to the last panel of the day. E, for environmental. I just want to remind you that you can send us your questions at any time during the event through the chat box. And to present Embraer's strategy on how to build a more sustainable future based on new technologies and new projects that will help lowering emissions and our footprint on Earth, please give a warm welcome to Luis Carlos Afonso, Senior Vice President of Engineering, Technology, and Corporate Strategy of Embraer.
Thank you, Felipe. I would like to once again thank you all for joining us today. At Embraer, we are very excited to be part of the global efforts towards sustainability and to help create a zero-carbon world. Since its early days, aviation has been one of the most innovative industries. Airplanes became 50% more fuel efficient in the last 50 years, with the same proportion of emissions reduction. In the long run, air travel has never been so popular, connecting people and promoting worldwide economic growth. With the projected traffic growth, though, even considering future efficiency gains like the ones observed in the past decades, aviation emissions would at least double by 2050 if no further actions were taken. This is not acceptable. That is why, as an industry, we established ourselves aggressive CO2 emissions reduction targets by 2050. This will only be possible through a concerted effort of several stakeholders, a great deal of research and innovation in several fields, as well as new public policies and regulations. As I said, at Embraer, we want to be part of these efforts, and we are very excited about the new opportunities that will unfold in this future sustainable world. For airplane manufacturers like us, most of the emissions are by far those of Scope 3, the ones generated by the utilization of our customers' aircrafts. And I will devote a good part of this presentation to it. But before that, let me start by talking about Scope 1, the CO2 generated by our own Embraer operations. This is the size of our challenge. 60%, more than 60% of our Scope 1 emissions are associated with the consumption of jet fuel, linked to flight tests, production flights, and ferry flights. And our plan is, first, increase the use of sustainable aviation fuel in our operations. Optimize our grounds and flight test profiles and efficiency. And last, benefit of the more sustainable future products we will be flying. In this sense, in the third quarter of this year, we began using SAF in Melbourne, Florida, the headquarters of Embraer executive jets. We will increase the use of SAF throughout next years. And we set a goal of using at least 25% of SAF in all our operations by 2040. The use of SAF, together with the use of renewable energy in our sites, will be the main levers that will allow us to meet the goal of carbon neutral operations, as we have announced today. But let me now go back to Scope 3, the emissions associated to the operation of the Embraer manufactured aircraft by our customers. Today, for the first time, we announce our vision and commitments, which is develop new solutions to net zero carbon emissions in aviation by 2050. We believe this is possible, and we intend to focus in two fronts to make it happen. First, bringing best-in-class sustainable aircraft to market at an accelerated pace to help change the efficiency and emissions profile of the existing fleets. And second, collaborating with all aviation industry stakeholders to develop and advocate for innovation and public policies towards a sustainable ecosystem, including availability of SAFs electrification, hydrogen, efficient operations, among others. I will walk you through some of these initiatives in the next slides. Starting with airframe and engines. In the efforts to reduce fuel consumption, over 50 years at Embraer, we have been developing tools and technologies that allow us to produce ever more efficient aircraft and therefore generate less emissions. We designed the second generation of our E-jets, offering a 25% reduction in fuel consumption and CO2 emissions per seat mile, and 30% reduction in noise. Thanks to new engines and airframe efficiency, with new high aspect ratio wings, the E2 is the most efficient and quietest narrow-body currently in operation, greatly contributing to sustainability. Investments in efficiency by us and by our industry partners and overall will be an important contributor to a sustainable future. Let's move on to SAF. SAF will play a key role in creation of a carbon-neutral aviation industry. Embraer has been working, as you can see in these slides, in the last 20 years on biofuel, starting with the ethanol-powered Ipanema, certified in 2004, as well as several experiments with SAFs, up to 50% blends, in commercial and executive aviation, including regular commercial flights with passengers. And we will continue to collaborate with SAF suppliers, engine and system manufacturers. SAF is drop-in, meaning that it is possible to use SAF in the existing gas turbine fleet without any hardware modifications. The penetration can be much faster than the introduction of new aircraft types. However, the current SAF adoption is still very low. Just 0.1% of all fuel used is SAF. Limiting barriers are blend compatibility, production at scale, logistics, and costs. Public policies and regulations will be paramount to develop SAF technologies and its supply chain. So Embraer will continuously collaborate with SAF development and promote actions to significantly increase SAF utilization. Our aspiration is by 2030, our aircrafts will be compatible with use of 100% SAF. And we are working with other important stakeholders to make it viable. Talking about infrastructure, important fuel savings opportunities come from optimized operations, such as direct routings, continuous descents, optimal altitude and speeds, and infrastructure, such as reduced taxi times. According to the ICAO, improvements in air traffic management and other operational procedures could reduce aviation fuel burn from 8 to 18%. We collaborate in these efforts through our subsidiary ATAC, which develops several cutting-edge solutions for efficient air traffic management. Let's talk about hydrogen. More recently, hydrogen has emerged as a potential aviation fuel of the future, with fuel cells and direct combustion options offering great potential. Embraer is currently studying technical, economic, and supply chain aspects of integrating hydrogen power plant systems into an airframe. I would like also to announce that our roadmap considers a hydrogen-powered test vehicle first flight by 2025. And last but not least, let's talk about electrification. Electric propulsion is already a reality for aeronautical use, which represents a big step forwards in the transition to a zero-emissions aviation, especially for small and medium aircraft. Electrification also allows aircraft to apply distributed propulsion, radically changing the airframe design and propulsion integration. In recent years, Embraer has invested in R&D of electric and hybrid electric propulsion systems, and today we would like to share at first hand with this audience a significant milestone towards a carbon neutral future. It is a pleasure to show you now the first flight of Embraer's electric demonstrator, which was performed a few days ago. Let's look at it. First flights are always an emotional moment in our industry. These test beds will help develop knowledge about batteries, electric motors, thermal management, electric control systems, high voltage handling, safety of flight. This was, as you saw, a manned flight that will then be applied to our future products. So, I hope I could give you an idea of some of the several technologies and paths being explored towards a sustainable aviation future. There are many challenges ahead, and to be successful, a concerted effort will be required. But I'm sure we will get there. We believe the answer will be a combination of these efforts and solutions, each one being optimized to certain applications, missions, aircraft size, and range. And as I said, we believe the sustainability imperative associated with emerging technologies, as we've seen, will create new opportunities. Over time, the market has demanded ever bigger airplanes, seeking lower seat mile costs. This is perfectly exemplified by the historic evolution of Embraer product portfolio in commercial aviation. From the 90-seat Bandeirante in the early 70s to the 146-seat E2 today. The smaller aircraft have disappeared, though. The routes were concentrated to bigger cities, leaving many communities underserved. But we believe this is about to change. Many of the new technologies, like electric and hybrid electric propulsion, will first be available at the lower end of the market, and new, efficient, and sustainable applications and markets will appear. Urban air mobility is the perfect example at the very low ends, being all electric and carbon neutral, and addressing an important pain point of several communities around the globe. If we go up the ladder to slightly bigger airplanes, new solutions will allow the reappearance of commuter and regional flights, allowing airlines to stay cost competitive and profitable while meeting the sustainability challenges. We believe at Embraer we are very well positioned for these opportunities, since this is the market segment we have been operating in the last 50 years. For the bigger airplanes like the E-jets and on, SAF and hydrogen will likely be the most efficient solutions. So, let's have a look at a few ideas we are considering. After the appearance of the regional jets, turboprops have lost their appeal. Passengers still see today, they see them as cramped, not possessing enough overhead bin space, noisy and old stack. Our proposal here, as you can see, this beautiful airplane, is to offer a high-tech 70 to 90 seat turboprop with the same cross-section of the E-jets. Very comfortable, no middle seats, and spacious overhead bins. The rear fuselage mounted engines will provide a quiet cabin and allow jet bridge compatibility. With these game-changing characteristics, this turboprop will seamlessly replace the current 50-seat regional jets in very important markets. And all this with the turboprop fuel efficiency, which is around 20% better than that of jets, and 20% less emissions, for sure. So, even with the current propulsion technology, this innovative design will provide significant and sustainable gains. And the rear-mounted configuration is ideal to evolve with new, greener technologies and propulsion solutions when they become available. Later this year, our commercial aviation teams will provide further details about these very innovative concepts. Let's now talk about the Stout. Let's see our Stout project. Yes. This is the configuration we are proposing to the Brazilian Air Force for a short takeoff utility transports, which is the acronym of Stout. As you can see, this is a hybrid electric configuration, leveraging the distributed propulsion concepts enabled by electrification and providing increased safety, better performance, and lower emissions. This platform is being defined for dual use, so civilian applications are also being explored. Let's now talk about our EVE project. This is our electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, our eVTOL. With EVE, we are reimagining the future of urban air mobility. We will improve the lives of millions of people in congested areas around the globe with a 100% electric and quiet solution. It goes without saying, this is a zero emissions solution. This vehicle is being designed with distributed propulsion, fly-by-wire technology, very high safety standards, and high utilization in mind. In collaboration with our subsidiary ATEC, Eve will develop the air traffic control system dedicated to urban air mobility, collaborating to create an efficient UAM ecosystem. Once again, given our end-to-end proven track records in aviation, we believe we are very well positioned to be among the few that will succeed in this market. In conclusion, I would like to say that these are indeed very exciting times, and we are absolutely committed to play our part in the creation of a sustainable future. Thank you once again to everyone who joined us today. And stay tuned, as in the coming months, we will be presenting more news regarding low and zero emission aircraft. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Luis. We got to the end of our event, and now we'll be heading to our press conference. But before we do so, I just want to take a brief moment to thank everyone who took their time to send their testimonials to us. They reassure that a plan for the future that takes ESG seriously and with responsibility is the right plan. I would like to thank our speakers for their presence, and on behalf of Embraer, I just want to thank you all for joining us. It is time for a better future. Let's build it together.